Hi everyone, I'm Natasha from Schneider Electric, CTO of Services, and I'm responsible also for our EcoStruxure Power Platform, which is an IoT platform of Schneider Electric. Now, what is in the scope of our services, just to give you the context, of course, is first and foremost the Schneider equipment that we manufacture. So this is typically our medium voltage equipment and switchgear, our low voltage equipment, our UPS, all of the different UPS that we have, and cooling systems. So for these equipment, we provide services that, of course, are enabled by our EcoStruxure platform, and that's what I'm going to share with you today. So let's start. Obviously, we are at Enlit, so everybody knows we're adding a massive amount of capacity to the grid in the next few years. It's going very, very fast. So with that comes new challenges. What are some of the challenges? First of all, the grid and the electrical systems on the other side of the meter as well are becoming much, much more complex in the way they are operating. Second, of course, the grid needs to become, well, we are at Enlit, and this is what we see everywhere. It's about resilience, it's about reliability. But then our CFOs are really, really concerned about the lifetime of the equipment. How can we make it last longer? How can we plan it better? And then, is like the previous speaker already mentioned, the growing costs of maintenance, both because of the internal skills that are becoming more and more scarce, frankly, but also because there's more equipment, more electrification. It's taking a lot more costs to maintain. So to address these challenges, we have been for a few years now providing digital services on the equipment that we sell and manufacture and install for our customers. Obviously, we start with the very, very basic monitoring solutions. I think it's nothing new here. The way we do it is we have composite indexes. So we have composite indexes for health, for risk, for partial discharge, for health overall, as well as maintenance. So we know how and when it needs to be maintained, if it needs to be maintained. Should we be recommending to dispatch a technician? And in many cases, we service the equipment. In some cases, customers service it themselves, but we help to recommend how and when to service the equipment. So for this, when you go into that index, the index is, of course, is built using a lot of both science-based models, but also machine learning models and regression models, etc. And it goes down to the equipment component level, as well as at the aggregate system level. That allows us to make sure we know exactly which component of the equipment, if it's wearing sooner, if it's aging sooner, if there is an anomaly in any part of the data that's coming either from the relays or either from the sensors. Typically, the sensors are temperature sensors, environmental sensors, smelling of the cable, and so on. So with this, what is now starting to happen is in the last few years, we're actually adding all of these sensors into their equipment at the time of manufacturing. So when today you buy medium voltage equipment from the factory, the sensor is already in, the connectivity is already in. Basically, our customers just have to add a SIM card, and they're on the cloud. Now, of course, because we have some customers who have self-hosting preferences, then we will do something different for them. But by default, of course, it comes connected right away to the service from day one. Why is that important? This equipment is lasting 20 years, 30 years. Next 20, 30 years will be nothing like the last 20, 30 years in the way this equipment is used. We will have new sources of energy. We have to switch between sources of energy. We have to put this equipment into, I don't know, EV fast charging infrastructure that we've never had before, and all kinds of new use cases. So we believe that equipping all of the Schneider products with this early warning system and connecting it immediately to the services is the best way to basically prepare for the future. So we also do the same for transformers, both dry transformers, in this case it's oil transformers, where it's very easy to install. Also in the brownfield, in the brownfield, these transformers are outside. They're in a harsh environment. They're in the middle of nowhere. So basically, you have a sensor that is very quick and easy to install, and then right away you connect it to the cloud, and you have significantly higher level of anticipating all the failures and everything that happens inside. So once the data comes in, then we have service technicians both remotely and on site, if that's part of the contract. They take the asset data, you have the analytics platform, you have the service hubs that are really experts, and they look at the data, they look at the analytics, and they know what to do with it, and they know how to interpret it. And then if, in some cases, we can dispatch our own service technicians, or customers have their own service technician to dispatch. And then we also have customer success managers that work very closely with our customers to make sure they are satisfied. Oh, and maybe what I wanted to say is, go in the wrong direction here. I will do a demo in a second. Yeah, for medium voltage, what we see is, of course, there's harsh environments I already mentioned. That's 20% of occurrence of the failures due to that. But there are also faulty connections, and there's also partial discharge, which is a slow creeping phenomenon, I think many of you know. So all of this now can be monitored and removed as a risk and anticipated in advance. What's important, what is different between the control system and the monitoring is we anticipate this before it happens, and we remove the failure and we prevent the failure from it happening in the first place. That significantly reduces both the downtime but also the cost of maintenance. What else is really interesting, in 70% of the cases, we determine that maintenance actually is not needed, and we don't need to have a truck roll, and that results in significant cost savings of 30%. I think we have exact same figure as you, so it's now empirically proven with many, many customers to have a pretty big cost savings on the services. Okay, so let's have a look now at the demo. Let me see how that works. It's just running by itself, fantastic. So let me show you this. The system creates a ticket. We selected a site on the left-hand side. These are all connected devices. We said, okay, during this period of time for these assets, we have generative AI now helping to summarize what's happened over this period of time. We now have generative AI providing a recommendation draft to our technician and says, okay, for all of this background data, all these connected devices, this is what we think the action items ought to be. So in other words, our technician, and then, oh, by the way, let us help you translate it into the language of the customer so we can speak the language of the customer. So the human is always in the loop. The technician is always knowing what to do. And then they can go in and they can start to ask the question with a highly curated I would call it a library of technical documents, so they can get additional expertise on a very particular topic, because sometimes we provide services on older equipment, something 15 years old. You know, the guys can't have it all in their memory. So they can refer to this now, and there is now a generative AI kind of a large language model implementation to help our experts to do that. So with that, basically, we believe for our own equipment, of course, we are the partner of choice because we manufacture it and produce it. We have digitized asset tracking and monitoring. We have maintenance and execution teams. And of course, we have intelligent predictive analytics I've been building for many, many years now. But on the people side, we also have the largest number of experts, of electrical experts in the world, and we have the largest installed base of electrical equipment in the world. So we believe we are pretty far advanced, and we love working with our customers on that. So with that, I will maybe take questions.
Yes, thank you so much. Any questions? And I already see a hand rising up too. Okay.
Hello. So first of all, thank you for your very, very nice presentation, very professional. So my question is, can the sensors installed on the breakers be replaced by the customer themselves if they are damaged, for example, or they require an intervention of a Schneider technician, for example?
Yeah, we definitely, they will require It depends on the issue, but yes, they require professional assistance. This is for sure, because it's electrical equipment, and it's also a question of life safety. So we have our technicians that are fully certified and fully, geared up and professional in that. Some customers have their own certified professionals. This is for sure, especially in electrical utility, but many of our customers are not experts. Like a hospital, they won't have their own person, right? So of course we have a huge number that's why we have 6,000 people who are working outside of utilities to do that job. And we also often do it because we anticipated it's not urgent. So we can plan the shutdown, we can decide when to come, and we can recommend maybe do a retrofit in some cases and do it part of the retrofit. So it depends on how critical and how urgent is the action. We can sometimes anticipate a week in advance. With transformers, could be 3 days in advance, we need to do in 3 days. And sometimes, like with batteries, it could be 3 months in advance, right? So it just depends on what is the equipment. Mm-hmm.
So I've been wondering about this for a long time because
Okay.
I've heard the horror stories. How exactly are you going to make sure that the standards are the number one priority in the AI's response to the prompts?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
How do you ensure that all the standards, the official standards that need to be followed, are priority in what the AI generates for a recommended course of action?
Oh, okay. Very good question, and thank you for asking. So first of all, we would, for the generative AI specifically, right? This last part. Okay. So for the generative AI, our policy is, and I think will continue to be, human in the loop. In other words, think of it like when you go to, well, I would say, put myself, when I go to do an X-ray, or for example, right? I know the radiologist machine is helping the radiologist to read the X-ray, but the radiologist makes a decision and tells me the diagnosis. I don't ask machine to give me the diagnosis. This is what we do. We have a human in the loop. That is our policy. We will not let a slightly hallucinating model going in front of the customer. Does that answer your question? Okay, good.
Okay.
Excellent.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions here in the audience?
No? Good.
If not, I will have one. Or was there a hand? Okay, then I will have one question. Let me see. Okay, so first question would be, how does Schneider Electric's approach specifically address the challenges of the aging infrastructure and scarcity of engineering labor?
Oh, thank you. That's a very good question. In fact, many of our customers are faced with a scarcity of the engineering labor. I will give you an idea so we're working on generative AI. The tool that I showed you right now is available to a few hundred people. It will soon. We will evolve it, and we're constantly evolving it, and we will make that available to all of the 6,000 people that we have. With that, so far, we've only been doing this for 2 years. So far, what we have seen is roughly 20% efficiency. So that means we can do, with the same workforce, 20% more work. This is number one. Number two is when we do this kind of tools, we make it more consistent between the people, so the behavior and the way the people approach it becomes more consistent and higher quality. And then, of course, for our customers, many of our customers sign up for us because they don't have enough resources of their own, because their resources are not 24/7. Here you have a 24/7 monitoring in real time of your equipment. This is something many people don't have the luxury of doing. That's why the IoT monitoring is so powerful as well, is to help in real time anticipate the issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have a question to what just has been said? Okay.
Okay, this is good.
We talked about customers. What about Salesforce and their capabilities to sell AI?
Oh, that's a very good question. That's why we're trying to promote it. Actually, one of the things we do at Schneider is go through a culture change and adoption, and we promote people even to use AI in their own day-to-day life. And we have an internal campaign. I have my colleague here. We have an internal campaign try to educate repeatedly our sales force. Actually, people love it. People love it. They fall in love with it because once they understand it, it makes it very, very interesting. And what's also nice, it's very practical. It's not some random AI stuff somewhere. It's something that you can see and touch and show, right? So many of our sales teams, or my sales colleagues here, they're quite happy and proud to demo it. So I think it's all good for that.
Thank you very much.